get hooked up with The Daily Show?
How did I get hooked? It was really just an audition. I was, and continue to be, an actor, just sort of in New York auditioning for things, and one day I got this call, and they said they want to audition you for The Daily Show. And initially, I said no, because I'd gone to these kind of auditions before. The sort of, like, I'd gone down to Letterman and different things, and they basically just used to sort of be like, hey, can you put on this turban and sit on this carpet and pretend like you're flying for like a comedy bit that we're gonna do, So I thought it's gonna be one of these things, and so I said no, and then they called back 5 minutes later and they said, are you sure? They kind of want you to come down, and it's not for what you think it is, it's for a correspondent. And still I was a little like, what does this mean? Like, I don't, and so I said, well, what time do they want me to come down? And they said, by 3. I said, oh, I'll be there at 3. I don't know why I had this attitude, but I kind of had this sort of like, Daily Show is beneath me. I've been on Broadway, you know what I mean? It was kind of that, and so...
you were in Oklahoma.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. So I was like, I've been in Oklahoma, Mr. Stewart. I don't know if you're aware of my resume. But yeah, so, but I did. I went down and I met John, and, I was a fan of the show. I used to watch it back then, don't anymore, but now, no. But and meeting John was kind of cool, and then we just did this piece that they had written, and I didn't really know what I was doing. I just, like everyone else, I just watched The Daily Show, and so I just figured I'll just do my best sort of Stephen Colbert impression and see if I can book this job, and so I did, and John turned to me and said, congratulations, welcome to the show. And I really thought he was kidding. I was like, what do you mean? Like, because, like as an actor, you're like, no, you'll come back in 2 weeks and you'll meet blah, blah, blah. And then 4 months later, we will decide if, And this was sort of like instantaneous. He just offered me this job, and he said, well, you'll be on the show tonight. And I was like, wow. I was like, and he was like, do you have plans? Imagine if I had been like, actually, I do. But yeah, I was on the show that night doing my first piece. And what's really bizarre about it is that we do, we rehearse the show around 4 o'clock every day. And so I go into my first ever rehearsal, and it's usually just a couple of producers and some writers and stuff sitting there. And I'm rehearsing, and I look out, and there's a guy sitting there with a baseball cap on, and he's like watching the rehearsal. And I sort of look closely, and I realize that it's Bruce Springsteen. And I'm like, wow, Bruce Springsteen works at The Daily Show.
But then you get the job, and you were the senior Muslim correspondent,
yes.
the senior Brown correspondent. It's not being on a carpet in a turban, but did it irk you at all?
It's a version of that, is what you're saying.
No, it's
yeah, I know what you're saying.
It's knowing.
No, we are ultimately, at the end of the day, sort of parodying the real news. So I recognized that there was this parody that we were making, and it was, I was, happy at that point that, because initially I remember saying to John, like, do you want me to do an accent? And he was like, no, not at all. So I think I was in this place where I was like, just happy to like not have to be like, did it me, like that. And I could just be myself and sort of play, an Indian American. So yeah, I started out, and still do a lot of the pieces that pertain to brown people, and brown people are in the news a lot, so it's good.
And it's senior Muslim correspondent with a very sharp point. One of my favorites was when, after the home improvement store Lowe's pulled its ads from a show called All American Muslim, because just associating with anything Muslim was controversial. You reported on why Lowe's should shut down entirely.
Right.
And we have that clip.
Oh, you do.
Without the store Lowe's, the jihadist goal is unachievable, John. If you were a Muslim who wants to build a bomb, sorry, I'm obviously being redundant, but what would you... What'd you build it out of?
I don't know how to build bombs. I just, what, wiring? PVC pipe, fertilizer, I guess?
Yep. Or, as they call it here, aisle 5. John, Lowe's is to Muslims what FAO Schwartz is to 9-year-olds.
Wait,